than what it may be once we take a look at it and have to start addressing next year. So next year we'll still balance on the books right now, but we'll be able, by using the tobacco tax increases, to bring most of that money up and use it in this fiscal year. So that's another $178.9 million. Our budget folks have been able to locate another $40.6 million in funds in various places in state government. And then we are proposing that we be given the authority, and this would require the legislature and legislative action, that the executive branch be given the authority to use furloughs as a tool to help us balance the budget during these very difficult financial times. What we're talking about here, and we're counting on $8 million here, this would be requiring state workers to take 3 unpaid leave days between now and June 30. Those leave days would be worked with their managers in terms of when it would be and who would have what leave day when. Quite honestly, we are proposing this as an alternative to massive layoffs in state government. We don't want massive layoffs. We don't think that that would be healthy for state government or healthy for this state. One of the ways we can avoid that is by having a furlough tool, a tool that will allow us to require some furlough days, unpaid furlough days, during this fiscal year, and obviously it's a tool that I hope we will be able to continue to have as we move through these tough economic times. Those different sources come up with the $456.1 million that we need to balance our budget. Where does the money go, and who does it come from? And that's the real question, not where it goes, who it comes from. These are my priorities. And as I said, I believe that these priorities are shared by the vast majority of Kentuckians. In the education area, I'm proposing that we exempt the SEEK formula, which is the lifeblood for K through 12, from any cuts. That's about 87% of the education budget. The other 13% for K through 12, we're proposing only a 2% reduction. That is half of what most of state government will be facing. Teachers' retirement system, we're proposing no cuts. Student financial aid, we're proposing no cuts. And post-secondary education institutions, we're proposing only a 2% reduction. Now that reflects my firm belief that education has to be the top priority for us in this state. Our long-term future in Kentucky depends upon an educated, qualified, skilled workforce. And we're not going to get there if we continue to seriously damage our system's ability to educate our children and our higher education system's ability to educate them as they move into that area. Another one of my priorities is health care. And there are a lot of things in health care that I wish we could prioritize. But under the circumstances, you've got to even prioritize within that area. We're proposing no cuts to Medicaid benefits. As I mentioned, we already are facing a deficit. We're going to be working hard to figure out ways of making up that deficit, which includes working with the federal government in the package that they may be presenting to us shortly. We're proposing no cuts in the mental health and mental retardation area. That is an area that has to be a priority with us. This would include Oakwood, for instance. And, we're under a situation there where we're having to fund that ourselves right now. We're proposing no cuts in health insurance for school districts. Those are the areas in health care, while there are many others that we're proposing no cuts in. Let me go back 1 minute to post-secondary education. I've said how important it is, and I mean it. And we're proposing that we only cut that area 2%. But in return, I am asking our university presidents to work with me, to work with my task force on college access and affordability, to work with the Council on Public Higher Education, to find ways to hold college tuition down. Particularly during this tough economic time, it's extremely important that we hold college tuition down so that our people can afford to continue to go to college. And I am confident that they will do that with us, but we've got to work hard in that area. I'm showing them my priority, and I'm asking them to join with us in working on the other priority I have, and that is to hold our tuition down to make our colleges more affordable for our kids. The third area that I mentioned as a priority is public safety. In the area of corrections, it's very difficult to make any cuts on the bed-related expenses because we're under mandates by federal law and the courts, and also the court system sending us prisoners. We have to take care of them when we get them. So we're proposing no cuts in that area of corrections. In juvenile justice, we're proposing no cuts there to the portions related to facilities run by the department and school-based programs. That is an area that a lot of people don't know too much about, but that's the department that provides and operates and finances centers and
juvenile detention centers
and those kind of thing. And we're talking about how to reduce our corrections cost, and obviously detention centers, group homes, and all of those things are options that we have to putting people directly in prison, and we feel like it's important to continue that effort. State police, if we don't reduce the cut on them, we won't have the new class of state police that they're planning to start in January. And it's very important to me, and I think the people of this state, to have more cops on the street, particularly during these hard times. I saw the other day where some of the prosecutors were saying that they felt like that crime might go up during these hard times. It's even more important then that we put more cops on the street, and state police need to have that class. They're at about the lowest point they have been in a long, long time in terms of the number of state police they have to do their work of protecting the public in this state. So we're proposing to cut them only 2%. That means that if we do what I've suggested and proposed and pass the cigarette tax and the other tobacco taxes, we can then cut other parts of government only 4%. And I say only 4%, that's significant. When you add 4% to some of these numbers over here, that's very significant. But if we don't have additional revenue, all of these numbers are going to go up significantly, and you're not going to be able to exempt the kinds of things that at least I think are priorities, and I think that the people of this state think are priorities. This brings me to an important point. This plan has been carefully crafted to preserve my priorities and the values I think we all share in Kentucky. Education at all levels, protecting our vulnerable populations, and ensuring safety as much as we can. I fully realize that legislators may have somewhat different priorities, and I look forward to working with them to discuss those priorities and to find common ground. I've been meeting with legislative leaders to discuss our financial challenges, and this morning I gave them details of this plan. Over the next few weeks, I will also take this plan around the state in a series of meetings and press conferences designed to provide information to our people all across this state and to get their input as well. It's imperative that all of us, from elected officials to university presidents, small business owners, unemployed factory workers, all of us understand the crisis that is facing us, understand our limited options, and understand the consequences of those options. Is this plan perfect and a final solution? Absolutely not. I know that. I see it more as a starting point, a foundation, if you will, for discussion about our values and how we protect them as best we can in a very challenging and difficult time. I am very open to new ideas, new proposals. In fact, flexibility will be required as a matter of course, given the fluid nature of this crisis that envelops us. It will also be required to demonstrate to Kentuckians that state government can and will solve this crisis. You know, our families and businesses are hurting, and they will not and should not tolerate elected officials who are too caught up with credit and blame, and that includes me as well as everybody else. It is not time for that. We must put aside the labels of Democrat and Republican, the rivalry between the executive branch and the legislative branch, the disconnect between state and local, and the notion that public and private can't work together. All of us must unite now. We must be Kentuckians first, and I believe that we will be. With steady leadership, firm conviction, and collaboration, we can and we will survive this economic crisis. And we will emerge with a state government that is focused on critical services and poised for opportunity. Just as important, we will be better positioned at that point to weather the storms that lie ahead. We must have the courage to make tough choices, the creativity to pursue innovative solutions, and the commitment to forge ahead.